We are live.
Good
What is up?
morning. Hey, what's up? Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
I love that. What's up? Let's all start. Hi, I'm Barbara Ellison. I'm a transformational life trainer, and it is all about aging gracefully. To being the best ever version of you, of that confident, outgoing person that's inside of you, and you just need some help, might need some help of getting to it, because it's not about trying to look like a 30-year-old. So anyways, that's my kind of spiel of just let's age gracefully. And like with me, I work with baby boomers that are coming up to retirement age, and so many of them do not know who they are outside of their job description or their title.
Yeah.
And so if that's you, reach out. There's a shameless plug there for a second.
Shameless plug.
Reach out, to one of us, because this is one of the
shameless. Be shameless.
shameless plug. Anyways, Jason, good morning.
What is up? What is up? I am Jason Tracy, JT Money in the house, right? I'm an empowerer. I work with businesses that are not moving, not selling, not not making the calls, not sure what their sales process even is, and I take those companies and empower them to grow and to sell and to dominate their market. And it's exhilarating work. I absolutely love what I do. I could talk all day about it, but I won't. So we'll get into.
So Gail, thank you so much for coming on our show today. So tell us about you.
Well, how much time do you have? Okay, I'll give you the
we have an hour.
That's not enough time, but short version. So I'm an empowerment master, and I am a podcaster, and I am a keynote speaker. What does that mean in a mouthful? So I'm not a coach. I really am all about digging deep and about finding the truth about who you are. And in doing so, you now are able to make choices that align with you, right? Align with your God-given values, not what you think they should be. And your life completely changes because of that. So that's what I mean by empowerment master. It really is different than coaching. And with that said, I have the Empowering Process podcast, and that is all about people who are willing to show up and talk about their pain and how they got through it. And we've had, spiritual leaders, but we've also had people who have survived a lifetime of rape and molestation and have been able to turn their life around, drug addiction and turn their life around. I mean, whatever the pain, because someone out there needs to hear it.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I'm all about, if you're ready to face it, I make a safe cocoon for you to hold the conversation. Right. And we share the journey. And then I have two things. As a keynote speaker, my keynote is crafting the flow formula. And it is about leaders and businesses, mindset change, stop managing your team and get into flow. And what's the process and why it's so important. It really, really is. And then I have a training about empowerment, right? About really getting into knowing the truth about yourself, right? And when we talk about that, when I say truth about self, it's about enlightenment about you. So it's very interesting. We got the business woo-woo and we got the personal woo-woo.
Well, I love how you take people through it, because I'm a big believer you don't move on until you go through it. You have to go through that ugly.
You have to go through it. And, the enlightened one that I have, and it's Journey to Enlightenment, it's the Empowering Process, Journey to Enlightenment. And that is not done in a team. I could do it as a training, but the problem with that is we're going to talk about powerful affirmations, powerful questions, and dig into how you've been hiding from that and what lies we bought into, right? That we thought were truth.
Yeah.
Right. And that is scary. It's painful. right? And I don't want someone to feel uncomfortable with going through that because other people are there, or if they really need attention, for me not to be able to give it to them. Right. So it's really an individual program.
So I love the story behind when people do incredible work like what you're doing. What led you to this?
Well, it's a long story of how I became a coach, but honestly, this pain and digging
Yeah.
started about, yay, 2020, right? And it was around that time that I decided to do my podcast. And then my best friend, my entire life, passed away. And when she passed away, I said, her story needs to be told. I'll tell you about that in a minute, but it's not my business to tell her story. So I will find people who are willing to share their story. So my friend was a multiple personality. She was bulimic. She was a functional alcoholic. I mean, she was a smoker. I mean, all of these things that you do to destroy your body and your soul because of her life, right? I mean, there are things that happened that created, this is her coping mechanisms, right?
Yeah.
And I knew at a young age I couldn't save her. All I could do was love her for who she was, right? And I wanted to let people who don't think they can do it, because she didn't think she could, see
Right.
people who can.
Mhm.
So that's how I got on this particular journey.
That's why I love it, because there's usually a really impactful story behind a purpose and a passion like this.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, in her multiple personalities, that she sometimes could control. When she was fading, she also had Alzheimer's. That's really ultimately what took her out. I went to visit her a few weeks before she passed, and she had a journal, and she went through she said, "Who are we in this journal? I don't know who we are." And so I read the journal and I knew what was going on in her time. So I talked to her about what was going on. And she said, "Will you write our story for me to read?" And I
Mhm.
knew she didn't have enough time left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I created a meditation, and I took her and me to a beach that we used to hang out in, right? We used to call it Women's Weekend Away. We would run away to this beach, right? And I just enacted. I said, "We're walking on the beach. I'm holding your hand. And remember the time that we used to fly kites, and remember the time." And so I went through the stories that way. And then at the end, I said, "I will always be holding your hand whenever you need to reach out."
Mm.
And so she listened to that meditation in her final days.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
That's
one of the
amazing.
things that I say so often, if you've been through it, if you have thought it or been through it and have survived it, you really need to share it,
You need to
because
share it.
someone else is at the start of their journey through it.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Exactly.
it's so important.
When Gail said that, I'm like, "Oh, you two are friends, right?"
No, but we could be.
We just met. Well, we just met on
Did you just
on
meet?
LinkedIn. Yeah, we
Okay.
just met. Yeah, we just
Okay.
met.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. So
but
just recently.
just
Yeah.
not too long
Okay.
ago. But the thing is, though, you find the people that are in alignment
Yeah.
with how you think. And I think that's what this show is all about, is bringing on people so that we can enlighten the world, to bring the everyday riches into the everyday.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's the whole thing. The folks that I am honored to have on my show have a beautiful evolution to talk about, right? And I say, what was that moment
Right.
where you woke up?
Mm.
And I've heard,
Yeah.
like addictions, things like, well, when I woke up in the hospital because I died and I found out that my 9-year-old found me on the floor.
Ooh.
I realized I didn't want him to have to do that again. Stories like that. I don't want you to be literally dead and
Yeah.
go through that experience, right? I want you to maybe connect with this person and talk to them about how they healed and help them show you where to go. Right.
Mm.
So, it really is important to me for people to know that there's hope, and there are folks out there with their hand out waiting to help you up.
They're so, there are, and again, I love finding out how Barbara finds the people that are on. Some people are really good friends with her, and some people she just met on LinkedIn. And that's how me and Barbara started our relationship. We just met on LinkedIn, and we had a conversation that led to another conversation that led to a podcast, that led to another podcast, that led to us doing this show together through a wild story, and then but it's just incredible.
Yeah, it really is. And you're right, Barbara. When you are vulnerable enough to be who you are, right?
Yeah.
And that takes bravery
Mhm.
until it becomes natural, right? The people that show up in your life will blow you away.
Yes.
I have the one gentleman that I've recently met, very spiritual and very powerful. And he's like, "Where have you been?" I said, "Well, it took me a while to shed some stuff."
Right.
I've
We have
been
to do our
hiding
own
behind
work.
the wall, right?
We have to do our own work.
Right.
What's this gentleman's name by chance?
This Scott Mason.
Okay.
Oh.
There's a gentleman that's in my life that sounded very similar to just how you described that. So I was like, maybe what are the chances? So
Right.
Mm.
And I'm getting offers to do collaborations, and that's not, I'll sell your stuff, you'll sell mine. That's not a collaboration. That's the
yeah.
BNI network, right?
Yeah.
Right. But a collaboration with, let's put a program together and do it, right? And it's it's not a partnership forever. It's a one-shot deal that we just have such juiciness around a certain subject together, and it clicks so
Mhm.
well that we need to share that as well. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So
And
you've been
that's
doing
what
these.
Go
we
ahead.
talked about, doing podcast swaps.
Right.
That's what it's all about.
That's it. That's it.
Just that. Because people will hear a different voice.
And they're only going to hear what they're ready to
To
hear.
hear.
So true.
It's really funny. So I used to compete in dancing, and in order to become a good enough follower, I became a certified trainer, because you need to learn the leader's role, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I taught a little bit, and I had this woman, and I was showing her one technique and one process, and whatever I said to her, she says, "That's the first time I heard that." Now, I have been in her classes, and I've heard the instructor say the very same words over and over again. And I stopped and I went, "Gail, it's the first time that she's ready to hear this."
Yes.
Because I know she's heard it. Right. And we all do that. We only hear what we're ready to listen to.
Yeah.
And I find so often people will beat themselves up because they're not where somebody else is.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a good story for you there. I got a good story for you. I have a story for everything. I have so many stories.
Yes.
Right.
I love the stories.
So this is my first husband, a little bit of a narcissist, tough marriage. But I remember at one point his middle brother had bought a house, beautiful home. And he's like, "I really want what Fred has." And I looked at stillborn birth, financial loss, the pain that he and his wife went through. And I looked at my husband, I said, "I'm not willing to go through the pain they went through to get here. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
But I don't want that. If that's what it takes to get that, I don't want it."
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
Right. So you need to kind of think about that. And then my 10th high school reunion, the valedictorian, because I hung around with, the smart kids, said to me,
Good
"I
call.
am so envious of what you have." And I'm like, I had a 1.5-year-old. I was getting off of welfare. I was in the middle of a divorce. I said, "What are you talking about?" It was my independence. that she wanted.
Yeah.
I said, don't
Yeah.
ever envy anybody else. Be thankful for what you have,
Mhm.
right? Just be
Yeah.
thankful, because when you're thankful for what you have, the universe says, okay, then she's ready for more,
Yeah. Yep.
right? Right.
Yeah, and you just change your perspective. You mentioned earlier that you're not ready. You hear what you're ready to hear, right? Your lens is shifted a certain way. So you like if you're shifted more and thankful, and you can identify what makes you happy and what you want more of, what you're thankful for, what you're grateful for, you're more in tuned and you can see those things.
Right.
As opposed to like the constant talking of what we don't want, like we have this constant fear of what we don't want, and lo and behold, we see more of those things because our lens is in focus. We're shifted to see those things.
So let me take the woo-woo out of that for you, because people are like, oh, you're talking Abraham Hicks and the law of attraction,
Yeah.
right? So here's the reality, the physical reality of what's going on. There are 3 billion billion bits of information at any given point around. Your conscious mind can bring in 750 bits. 3 billion versus 750 bits. Then your mind goes through this process, and let's like, if I say I'm a coach, you put me in the coach folder. Okay, this is what a coach looks like, right? And then your belief systems and your values and your emotional state all change that picture.
Let's drill it down one more and say that you're a life coach.
Well, I used to be.
No.
I started off as a life coach,
But
right?
that people put it into a complete different file,
Right? Yeah. No. And so that is what you see. You choose what to delete, distort, and filter
Mhm.
before it even comes in. And so when you change your focus, I'm going to delete and distort that instead, and I'm going to let in that. So the details have always been around us. We just see what we are ready, that we want to see. And that's another thing where, this life is just a projection, right? Right. So let's project what we want. And that's true. And that's what mindset is all about.
Yeah.
It really is
It's
crazy.
reticular activating system. It's literal science. It takes the woo-woo
Right.
out of it.
Right.
It's a literal science. It's a part of our physiology, right? It's a
Right.
part of our science.
Exactly.
Gail, I love you. You're like literally a mix between me and Barbara. You're literally like saying things that she says, saying things that I say all the time. So this is awesome. I'm like, this is awesome. I can't wait to connect with Gail more.
It's crazy. Well, that's why I call myself a master, because I am really a master at my trade. But because that people haven't yet created a file to put me in, and it keeps them more open to conversation and possibilities with me, because I'll go wherever it is that you are ready to go. I'm not going to take someone down a 5th dimensional journey if they're rooted in the 3rd dimension. So we will talk about 3rd dimensional changes and how we can change your perspective. Takes longer 3rd dimensionally because you get time and space, right? And so how to navigate through that time and space and that journey faster than you have been going, right? And I will do 5th dimensional work. They just won't know that that's what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And people, and the thing I think for me, it's like, go at your own pace. And this seems to be the last 2 or 3 days. It has been about, don't compare yourself to somebody else. It seems like every conversation that I've had in the last few days has been about, don't compare yourself to somebody else.
Absolutely.
Do your own process and trust the process.
And you don't know who is envious of you. I mean, here I am with a 1.5-year-old getting off of welfare, trying to figure out how to put food on the table, and somebody is envying me. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Right. So you don't know.
It happens every day.
Every day. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. So this conversation is interesting. We could go even further out.
Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, let's go. So I just finished a podcast with a gentleman who is a medium, if you will. I don't
Okay.
want to say medium, but he hears these voices. He died at a very young age and broke through the veil, and they sent him back. And
Mhm.
that doorway has been open ever since, right?
Yep.
And he's kept it pretty quiet, right? It's not accepted mainstream. And
Yep.
he and I, like I say, you just don't know who's going to show up when you're open to it, have
Right.
connected it. And he's like, they're telling me we have to work together. And I'm like, okay. I said, what does that look like? He goes, I don't know. Doesn't mean it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how Jason and I got together. I said, will you come on, after my first co-host, she was tragically killed in a car accident. And Jason was scheduled to come on this show, on our podcast. And I said, well, will you just be my co-host for a couple of weeks and bring a guest? Do the next, and you get the guests. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah, we can do that. And now it's been a year and a half.
Right?
Yeah.
See?
He's
Yep.
never left. I said, why am I looking for another co-host when Jason and I just gel
Right.
and we can have a conversation, whether we have a guest or whether we don't?
Right.
Our listeners have heard this story over and over, but I just enjoy telling it.
Right.
So, but literally, so she asked me to find a guest, and this really ties into what we're talking about, Gail, and how the world is connected. How many people are in the world that I could possibly think of? Me and Barbara don't know each other extremely well. Like, we've been on each other's podcasts and stuff like that. I don't know who she knows. I just I had a calling of there's these two people that came up in my head. One of them was as a client I'm working with, and another one was a friend of mine that lives 20 minutes from me, that I had built a good relationship with over the last couple of years. And for some reason, I just felt like I think that he would connect really well with Barbara. And so when I was about to message this guy and say, hey, would you want to be a guest on this podcast that I'm on? And as I was doing that, he shot me a message and said, hey, I just saw that you were on a podcast last week with Barbara Ellison. How in the world do you know her?
Yeah.
Like in the Venn diagram of things, I'm wondering, how in the world are you two connected? Turns out they were in a meditation group together virtually, and they knew each other really well. And so I had Dan on our show, and I surprised Barbara that he was the guest. And but think about how many people are in the world, and two people popped in my head. And I'm leaning towards Dan, and I'm going to shoot him a message, and he says, hey, how do you know Barbara?
Oh, well, that's the same thing with Scott. So Scott Mason, the guy from New York I was talking about earlier, we were talking and I mentioned, the medium. And I said, do you know Franco Romero? And he goes, oh, heck yes, I know Franco. I'm like, okay. Right. So, and I did not meet the two of them on the same path, the same way at all.
Right.
So
yeah, synchronicity. So let's take a little break. And then when we come back, I want to hear that story of how it works. Anyway, so my little spiel is, aging gracefully is not about trying to be a 30-year-old. It's about being your best ever self and knowing who you are outside of what you do, so that you can live the rest of your life has the best of your life. And that is what is so important for baby. So if you're a baby boomer and you're facing retirement and not quite knowing how you're going to make the transition, then reach out. There's somewhere on the link that on here somewhere that there's a little thing that says Aging Gracefully. Click on it. Let's have a chat. Anyways, and now we're back.
Barbara always nails the commercial, but then
then she freezes.
she warped somewhere into another transformation. There we go. There she's back. That was the coolest freeze
that was the best freeze
ever.
Like,
oh, did I freeze?
You froze and
you were like this, frozen. It was awesome.
Usually I freeze with an ugly face. That was beautiful.
It was so much excitement.
You know what? I don't know why it freezes.
You got through the commercial and then all of a sudden it froze.
Oh, well,
Yeah, like I had mentioned before we got on that
the tech gods.
the
Yeah.
tech is being affected by the energy that is currently pulling on the earth, and it's the type of pull, the type of energy that hasn't been around for like 10,000 years. And
Ooh,
it's-
let's talk about that. I'm a firm believer in that.
oh, you really want to go woo woo.
Dr. Jason, hey, you know, there's a bit of
Delicious.
woo-woo.
Okay.
I think there's a bit of woo-woo in all of us.
There's
Yeah, for
a
sure.
lot of woo woo in me. And I'll tell you, when I first started coaching and running my own business, I had, many coaches to help me through, and
Right.
one was a marketing coach, and she told me to stop the woo woo. Stop. Right. And so I did. And it
Yeah.
was so inauthentic. It was
It's not you.
ridiculous.
It's not
No.
you.
No.
I'm a
And
sales coach, and literally, I've literally, I've never been woo woo in the sense I've always believed in the law of attraction. I've always believed in all that kind of stuff. I never thought of myself as this spiritual person or like any of the I didn't think I had any gifts of any sort or anything like that. Right. So that gets funny. And then until somebody spit them out to me, like, yeah, this is, and I'm like, oh my God, it's like you're reading me. It's like,
Right?
that's crazy.
it's just crazy. It's just crazy. So if you listen to any of the podcasters who are on the cutting edge, so shall we say, they're all talking about December this year.
This year.
Yeah. Right. And when I started talking with Franco, I had already heard about what was going on. And I could feel what was going on. And I was telling him some of the experiences, and he's like, well, this is why you're feeling this. This is why that's, so he was able to explain to me what was happening. And so what's happening, we've got this energetic pull that is different. And like it or not, guys, we're all just electricity.
Right.
That's all we are. And energy is 85% space. So we're nothing but smoke and mirrors. Just chewing that for a while. Okay.
Yeah.
So of course, like the moon pulling on the water in our body, we are affected by it.
Yeah.
Right. And so
yeah.
right. So we are electronically being affected by this pull. Right. And so the first thing, and that for me started last month, is preparing us fourth dimensionally. And fourth dimensionally is there's no time and space. And so what does that show up? For me, it showed up as really vivid dreams,
Yes.
very clear dreams, and deja vu that completely confused the hell out of me. I mean, I would literally go, wait a minute, I thought I already did that. Didn't I just put that cup down? No, I'm putting it down now. Wait a minute, I saw me put okay. And then I'm like, all right, that's what's going on. Or the complete opposite where wait a minute, I already did that. So it's something that I'm doing that I saw me already doing.
Right.
So I future projected, or the past comes so clearly in front of me. I feel like it's happening in this moment, not a week ago moment. So time and space is starting. And when that has happened, I've literally said to the universe, I need to live third dimensionally right now. Can you please stop? I need to live third dimensionally, right?
Pull me back down, like
right. When I'm dreaming, you go for it, but please, right?
Yeah.
And so my vivid dreams have also been foretelling, and I've talked with Franco about those. So we're getting ready fourth dimensionally, because in December is when we're going to experience miracles fifth dimensionally.
Yeah.
What does that look like? So I told you about my friend that passed away. She was living in Colorado, and she had not yet been diagnosed as multiple. I'm in Boston. She's in Colorado. I called her husband. I said, where is she? He says, what do you mean? I said, she's in pain. She's in agony. Where is she? You tell me right now. She was in the hospital. I said, whatever they're doing, they need to stop. My gut is being pulled out. They've got to stop. That's fifth dimensional stuff.
Yeah.
You know what's happening.
Right.
imagine having a conversation, Barbara, and not being on Zoom.
Yeah. And it's and and I'm so glad that we're talking about this because at first you think it's like one time I was doing an energy ball where you can literally feel the energy. When you put your hands like this, you can feel the energy. And one day I was doing that and it was just like I was just casting my vision out to the world. And there was a girl there that her name was Brenda. I was sitting by myself in my bedroom, but she was with me in the energy ball.
Right.
And it's like, and I can't believe I'm telling people that on this podcast.
Right. Live.
Yeah.
However, it was the most powerful moment that, and the realization that they have done studies with the astronauts and with people that are meditating that it's like, oh, wow. Anybody
It's a real
that
thing.
you might, it's like Jay, I always love when Jason says, yeah, you might not believe in gravity, but if you walk off the edge of a building, you're going to fall.
You're going
You'll
to fall.
find out about
Yeah.
it real fast. Yeah.
You're going to find out about it really fast.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that experience was like, and that was a couple of years ago, but I now know that as I'm hearing these things, that was one of the little instances that, oh, Barbara, this really is real.
This is really,
this is
so real.
coming.
Yes.
And to have, so when it says in the Bible that people will have dreams and visions. That's what we are starting to experience now. People are having dreams and visions.
Right.
And some of them are so real. And yet they're so afraid to tell anybody because people will look at them like they're weird.
Well, this is it. I mean, I have spoken with Franco about shutting down because of judgment, because of, but as a very young child, I remember actually being a little bit panicky because I realized that this was the dream.
Yeah.
As a child, I knew that this wasn't the reality.
Right.
And it frightened me because I had no one to talk to about, well, what does that mean?
Exactly.
Right. And so I'm like, well, you need to stop thinking that. And I stopped. Right.
Yeah.
So many things.
Yeah.
Right.
You remember when Shirley MacLaine came out with, I don't know if she actually wrote it, but the Out on a Limb book, that Out on a Limb book.
She got chastised for that book.
Oh, horrendously, the Out on a Limb. And I can remember as a teenager that when that came out, and I don't even know how I even heard about it, but I said, well, I'll do that.
I have no idea what this is about.
It's about having an facilitating you having an out of body experience.
Yeah.
And talking with spirits.
And talking and knowing that you are literally, and that you can look down on yourself and know that you are out of your body. Your spirit is out of your body, but you're looking down. I remember having it once because I had a high fever. So then when I heard about this, I said, gee, I wonder if you could do it I wonder if you could do it.
You can.
Scared the living daylights out of me because it happened. Right. And now I know it led to the things that now I believe like of being in this energy ball and knew this other person was with me.
Yeah.
It's all there for us, but we have to be ready to listen to it. And so now people are thinking, what is this show about?
I know. So
you know what? There are other people out there though that right now that need to hear that they're not crazy.
That they're not crazy.
Real.
And they have someone that they can contact.
And that they have someone that they can contact.
And that was my point earlier is you said that a marketing person told you not to talk about this kind of stuff. And I was having a lot of people coming to me I was working with them on their sales, and their solopreneurs on their sales process and whatnot. And over time, I would discover you're holding yourself back. What is going on? What's this wall here? And there's this one particular client that I had that it was like, I was going to fire her. Like, I told my wife, I'm like, she keeps draining my energy. It's like, we're back and forth. Like she'll go make a ton of progress, and then all of a sudden she's like 20 steps backwards. And I'm like, I feel like she's going to be homeless in a minute. It's just back and forth. And then I experienced some things while we were in the middle of a coaching session where she was not herself, and she was kind of channeling pain from one of her friends. And like I'm experiencing this happen, and I'm seeing her personality be completely different than what I'm used to. And so as that was happening, she got a phone call from a friend saying that this friend was in the hospital and she was experiencing all these things that Rhonda was telling me she was experiencing.
Right.
And so I'm like, Rhonda, we got to dig into this. What is going on here? And so over time, we really unraveled it and found her true purpose. I wasn't meant to coach her to be a better health insurance salesperson and to build her business in that. Like instead, she was supposed to like tell her story because she had a specific story where when she was a kid, she was out playing in a new neighborhood. She had just moved to a new neighborhood, and these two both brothers had walked up to her and asked her if she wanted to play. And she responded to them. She was like 4 years old, responded to them, said, you guys can't, your mom's mad at you. And they're like, what are you talking about? And then 30 seconds later, the mom came out the door and was screaming at them to get in the house. And the kids looked at her like she's a witch, right?
Right. Oh, I've
And
been
she
told that.
never got that picture out of her head. And so she suppressed herself in so many different ways to mask these gifts that she had to be normal. And it just, she wasn't her. Like she's not living her full life. It's like the best way I could explain it is like my favorite cartoon during Christmas time is going back to a kid was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And when he puts that fake nose on and he's holding himself back and he can't talk comfortable, he doesn't feel confident, he doesn't feel comfortable, his whole voice is nasally, and then the nose pops off and his light shines and he saves the day, right?
Right.
Yeah.
He uses his power to save the day.
Right. And that's the thing is none of this is super, unreal. So supernatural. I was thinking of this the other day. Let's unpack that word. I love taking language and getting to really, what does it mean? Right? Super natural, not unnatural. It's not super unnatural. It's supernatural. We all have this ability.
Right.
We just haven't, we've allowed the lies to build a wall to prevent us from being exposed to who we really are. And that's really, truth about self, that training. This is why I'm doing it one-to-one. You want to get that connection. You want to know who you really are and why you're really here.
Yeah.
Right. Let's do the work.
Right. And it can start with one little small seed. That's like, I was just talking to a friend of mine, Barbara Beckley, and we were talking about that. I'm doing a workshop tomorrow on going from mindset to mind flow. And, so our mindset is so that it's like set, but you can have one little small kernel. It can be the size of a mustard seed, little kernel of an enlightened idea, one little small shift. And then you can get into mind flow where you are just like, oh, wow, you've changed your life forever because now you're going the way it's supposed to be going.
Right. And so here's the thing about flow. So this is why I love my training on flow. It's like success breeds success.
Yes.
So once you allow yourself that little, I love the mustard seed example, perfect example, right? That little seed to happen, then your body also has a mind. It's also electricity. Feels this like, oh, no resistance there.
Yeah.
Oh, let's try this again.
Yes.
Ooh, I kind of like this. Let's try it again. So your body, guys, drives your mind, not the other way around. Right. And if you listen to your body, and that's why I call it, like, it feels delicious. Delicious is the word I use.
Yes.
Right. I got shivers down my back. That's the way I want to go. That's the choice I want to make. And so I help my clients find their delicious flow. I love that, go with the flow.
Go with the flow of ease and flow to just, and we have the power within us, the intuition. All we have to do is listen to it.
Yes.
And sometimes people, it totally does not make sense.
Oh, it makes no sense. But if you follow it,
but
And don't
follow it
question it
until it
right?
does.
Right. And sometimes I'll be like, is that you talking to me or is that me talking to me? And then
Exactly.
I'll say, it doesn't matter. You know why? I'm God too.
Right. Yes. We
So it
have it.
doesn't matter.
We're the spirit within us, and we can take one little small step.
Yep.
And one of the things, like for me, I can remember, when I had my moment of awakening, it was like, okay, David has died. I have not. I don't know what I want to do, but I know what I don't want to do.
There
And
you go.
sometimes it can start with that. What don't you want to do? And then what's the opposite of that?
Perfect way to start.
Yeah.
And that's what I work with my clients. You don't know what you want to do. Okay, fine. You don't have to know right at this moment. It's not written in stone. What's one little thing?
Right. What makes
You
you,
might-
what makes you
chances
giggle?
are-
What makes you happy?
And
What
chances
makes you-
are it was something from when you were a kid.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love, Gail, how this all ties into the image you have in the background of the person unzipping themselves, right?
Right.
And it ties into that marketer telling you not to talk about the woo-woo stuff. It ties into Rhonda really unzipping herself, because once she did that, once she grew comfortable and broke that barrier, that mindset she had, that what she had was not natural, was freaky, was made her less than a human. Once she embraced her magic, opportunities started happening. Life
Right.
started happening.
Right.
She started
Right.
meeting new people and new friends, and she had new opportunities in her work, and it's incredible how that happens.
It is.
You unzip yourself.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It is miracles, and that's what we're going to be seeing in December.
Right.
Right. Is miracles. I've been told December 21st, which happens to be the equinox,
Right.
which
Yes.
is, talk about balance and pull.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Should
many of
be-
the prophets are coming out with that something is happening. So it's gonna be
and
gonna
call
be
it whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
It's very biblical and it's very not biblical.
Yeah.
Right? It's very scientific, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's one of the things for me. So often it's where faith meets science. And you
Yeah.
might not believe in either one of them, but you know what? They're connected. Because we
and-
are all connected.
I don't know at what point in our history this became woo-woo or whatnot, but like I love the people that have the signs that say I believe in science, but not really all science, because something like this would be woo-woo or out of bounds
Right.
for them. But it
Right.
all falls into that. It all falls into science. Like this is
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The
Quantum physics. Yep.
Yeah.
The
Quantum physics, yeah.
quantum physics
Right.
that they're
What's
now
cr-
proving.
What's so crazy to me is like that we used to know all this stuff, and then at some point in history, it became shameful. And maybe it was like who got in power.
So before you showed up, Barbara and I were talking about the Illuminatis, and
Of
we were
course, yeah.
talking
Of course, that's the way
right,
it falls.
about
Yeah.
conspiracy theories. And,
Mhm.
I could tell
I
you
was
exactly
listening
when
in
this
while my
started.
internet wasn't working.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we're seeing now. And I predicted this in 2020 when COVID hit.
Yeah.
I predicted we were going to divide.
Yeah.
We would come out of this divided because people are going to look internally, and they're either going to be frightened,
Yep.
Right.
or they're going to be enlightened.
Yep.
Yes.
Right. And it'll be very clear who's who.
Yep. I said the same thing, and I took it as a calling to shine my light even brighter, to
Right.
get out on the stage and shine my light even brighter, to help as many
Right.
people as possible.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's
Right.
take
And-
people on the journey with us.
Yep.
That's where
Exactly.
it's like this. That's what this show is about. Hey, you know what?
Exactly.
Let's go on the journey together. And just
Yeah.
because we talked about it already, just because you don't believe it doesn't mean it's not true.
And
It's the new-
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it
Right.
doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter. I've done in the past timeline work. Let's
Yeah.
heal the root of whatever,
Right.
pain, you've got. And that could be this life, past life, or genealogy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was working with a woman, and she said, well, I don't believe in past lives. And I said, I'm not going to ask you to believe in past lives, but I am going to ask you to believe that your mind is going to create a story or an image, whether it's real or not, doesn't matter,
Yeah.
at
Right.
such a point that you're able to handle the information that's coming.
Right.
So when I ask you before, during, or after birth, and you feel before, say it, because it's your mind creating a story that's safe enough for you to deal with the information,
Yeah.
right? And she actually went past life. She went past life.
Yep. Did she really? Did she do it?
Yeah, she did it. She did
Yeah.
it.
Wow.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
See, my hand went up again. There we go.
Yeah.
Right.
See,
She did.
meant to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And and so I don't know whether my past life journeys that I had are real or not.
Yeah.
I just know
Yep.
that the experiences that were presented to me
Yes.
were
Are pretty
where
freaking
the
real.
right, they were pretty
They
real.
felt real.
They felt real.
Yeah.
And that's where I did the work to clear my shame, my sadness, my fear, my
Yes.
anger, right? That's where I did the work to begin this serious journey of excavating the walls that held me from being connected with source, held me from being connected with who I am,
Yeah.
right? And that's what I really want for my clients.
Right.
I do, whatever it is that they show up, they want me to do.
Mhm.
You want to just work on, your attitude, your perspective, your relationships, fine. But if you
Right.
want to really go,
Yeah.
then yeah, definitely I will take you on the truth about self journey.
And it can start with one little thing of just,
The
hey,
mustard seeds.
the mustard seed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that one little mustard seed will, if you let it, if you don't stymie it, if you put it in a fertile ground, it will start to sprout.
Right.
But it doesn't go from a mustard seed. I mean, mustard trees are 6 feet, 8 feet tall.
They're huge.
They're huge mustard trees. But it started with one little seed. But that you're not going to make the huge leap, but you're going to
Yeah.
take one little step.
Yeah. Yeah.
One little step. That's all you have to, that's all that we require. And take that one little step. And you're going to have lots of journeys. Your journey is not going to go like this. It's going to go.
Only it would have.
Whoops. Well, that one didn't work. Okay,
So-
fine.
so
Well,
talk,
okay, now.
talk a little bit about resistance. So you're talking about this.
Oh, the resistance. Yes.
I
You're going to,
believe.
yeah.
So if you listen to Abraham Hicks, we're here to expand for expansion. But here's what does that mean? All right.
Right.
So expanding the universe means creating a bank of desire.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
A desire for something new, something greater, something beautiful. And how do you get desires? Barbara, you said it. You know what you don't want.
You know what you
Mhm.
don't want.
You know
Yeah.
what you do want, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
the resistance in our life is like, oh, this hurts. This is not what I want.
Yeah.
Whoa, well, what do you want? Oh, like my ex, right? I don't want to go through what they went through, but look at the pain they went through
Yeah.
and the
Right.
desire they created from that pain.
Yeah.
Now you can either leave that desire in the fifth dimension and wallow in your pain, which a lot of people do.
And yeah, they wallow in the past.
They
And they
identify
keep
with
reliving
it, right? They don't know who they are without it. And so they're creating all this amazing desire in the fifth dimension. Soon as they look towards, well, if I don't want that, this is what I want instead. The universe says, well, we've been waiting for you. Here
Yep.
it is. That's what's going to happen in December.
Yeah.
That is going to be faster. It's going to be smoother.
Yeah.
It's going to
Yeah,
be
right
beautiful.
before. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Gail, this was absolutely. I can't believe an hour ago. Jason and I say this.
Yeah, I
all the
know.
time.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It flies
can't
by.
believe it has
I
gone
can't
by
believe
so
where we
fast.
went with this.
I am a firm believer that we talk about the things that the universe means for us to talk about. Because somebody listening to this, and the thing is, though, they might not be listening to it today, or
Yeah.
tomorrow or even a month from now.
Right.
Yeah.
But they might be listening to it on December 20th and go, oh, wow. What they were talking about that back at the beginning of November.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Interesting.
Because there is, that is the absolutely awesome thing about the conversation.
It's just crazy. It's just
It's
crazy.
the awesomeness of how we're all, how it's all connected.
It's all
We were
connected.
meant to talk about this today.
The timing is fortuitous.
Yeah.
And I'm being spoken to like crazy right now. You're like, yeah.
And so, yeah. And so if
Yeah.
you're not ready for this, okay, fine.
That's okay.
Just wait.
Yeah.
Well, and it doesn't, everybody is on their chosen path. That this is, free will.
Free
It's
will.
free will, right? The opportunity is laid before you and there's no blame, there's no shame, right?
Right.
You pick the path that you want, and the journey to enlightenment, if you will, that's what I'm calling in that training that I'm doing for folks. That doorway will be open, but not forever.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you're not there, no worries, call. Well, and if you want to get there, be happy to help you there. But
Right.
after a while,
Yeah.
the door will be closed.
So,
And Kyle Cease, I don't know if you know who he is, but he's been
Mhm.
talking about this since January. And
oh, wow.
he calls it two worlds. There will be two worlds. Yeah.
You always go, like, for me, I go back to the movie 2001. Was that,
I go to ET.
Easy.
yeah,
I go to ET.
this is a new birth of enlightenment.
Yeah.
And this is the age of enlightenment, that more and more people are coming to realize that life is not, this is a temporary thing. This is a temporary body.
It's an
This
experiment.
computer is a
We're
temporary
here to
thing.
play and experiment
But
and
we're
enjoy.
here to- yeah. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Anyways, so Jason, any last words? And then we'll let Gail have some last words.
No, this is a great conversation. I really enjoyed it and
Yeah.
looking forward
So-
to.
And
Yeah.
we'll stay on afterwards and we'll chat about podcasts and podcast swaps and stuff. I mean, it's so true. We are all in this together.
We are.
So Gail, any last words from you?
You
How people can get in touch with you. Let's start with
Absolutely. All right. So you can get in touch with me actually on LinkedIn. That's Gail Kraft, Kraft, Gail Kraft on LinkedIn. Or go to the Empowering Process Podcast on YouTube. I have a channel called The Empowering Process Podcast. And, subscribe, please, and there'll be episodes that are way out there and episodes that are not. But there are conversations there waiting for you.
that.
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you so
So-
much.
Awesomeness.
All right.
This was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. And next week, come back for another great, riveting conversation. And for this week, find your treasures in your everyday riches.
Everyday
So,
riches. Yep.
This is Barbara Ellison. Have a
Jason
great
Tracy.
week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.